One brotherhood, one ship. Stay bearded, stay feeling. One brotherhood, one ship. Stay bearded, stay feeling. It's BV, it's BV, BV, it's BV,
yeah.
It's BV, it's BV, it's BV, it's BV.
It's BV and jellified, Jimmy Beam and Bly, reaching high as where we reach, yo, as high as to the stars. Beats in the villain Jeep, vibrating other cars. Whose world is this? Yo, we say the world is ours. So we grow beards, no fear, photos so clear. Take another shot, so to speak, yeah, more beer. BV worldwide, put a fist to the sky. Cheers, cheers, New Year's, dope rhyme, good vibes. My crew speaks power, Chi-Town bleeds power. Knowledge, wisdom, and truth in the final hour. Respect, loyalty, family, charity speaks power. Here the village brotherhood speaks honor. Forwards and onwards, stay villain to the end. I will never shave again because my beard is not a trend. I represent excellence, leadership, and never follow. I'm a BBC member, yo, lieutenant of Chicago.
One brotherhood, one ship. Stay bearded, stay feeling. One brotherhood, one ship. Stay bearded, stay feeling. It's BV, 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 it's BV. Yo, all I see.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Friday night. Wow, Friday night. Welcome to the Heart of a Villain. I'll try that again. Welcome to the Heart of a Villain, the podcast and live stream devoted to the bearded villains worldwide brotherhood and the lives they are changing all over the world. Guys, tonight, our last episode of February 2021. This month has, well, February usually flies by, but this month for some reason seems like it's flown by faster even than a lot of other Februarys have in the past. But welcome to the podcast and live stream. This is episode 72. We are flying along. Episode 72. And wow, guys, tonight we are going to be talking about making it count. Now, we've talked in a variety of forms. If you followed the podcast at all, over the last several months to a year, especially during the COVID times, last year when everybody was staying at home, we were, some of you joined me for the mid-morning super awesome live stream Facebook show, a show that was on Mondays and Wednesday mornings when just for 30 minutes, we'd sit back, chill, talk about fun stuff, inspiring stuff, and whatnot. And something that came of that show, the Mid Morning Super Awesome live stream Facebook show, I'm going to be incorporating in tonight just a little bit. So it may be old hat for some of you. Just the little segment that when I get to it, you'll know if you were one of them. But we're going to be talking about making it count. And we're going to talk about that in a variety of different ways, how you can make it count. And we're talking about life. We're talking about the life that we live. How can we make it count? First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching live. All of you people watching on YouTube or on the replay, thank you so much for viewing this. This is episode 72. There are 71 previous episodes, many of which are here on YouTube. If you are listening live, you can check out if you're listening on a podcast platform, you can listen to all of the goodness, all previous episodes, all 71 of them at theheartofavillain.simplecast.com. Ah, the good stuff, the good stuff. Yes, check it out. That's where all that merch stuff is too. We'll get to that later. But I appreciate every one of you guys for being here. Those of you who are live, Hillbilly's here. We've got Rob here. Sharissa's here. We're waiting on Jay. I don't know what he's out driving supposedly. So I guess it'll be a little while if he's gonna join us or not. That's okay. He can check out the replay later if he can't make it live. The Bearded Irishman is here. I'm not sure. I've been waiting to hear back if he's live with us or if he's at work or what he's doing. But he checked in with us to say, hey, how you doing? Mark, how you doing, buddy? Appreciate you. This is going to be another one of those deep episodes. So get your thinking cap on, guys, because I'm going to be asking some questions. And this is something that will, this is something that I think even the people listening, especially the people listening in podcast land, will really get something out of this at a later time. And this is going to be one of those episodes where I think this is going to be one of those episodes that I think you might want to come back and listen to later. I know I will, because as I was preparing for this episode, there were a bunch of things that came up and thoughts just rumbling around in my head. And I very easily could have made this a multi-part episode, or a multi-episode topic. We'll put it that way. It could have very easily been a multi-episode topic. And part of me wanted to do that. And so I think maybe I'll come back and revisit some of what we're going to talk about later on a follow-up podcast. But this was one of those days where we had to do a pivot. And I know I've said this before a few times, and it's probably getting old hat for you guys to hear that. But some days, circumstances, as one of my favorite internet people in the world says, circumstances are circumstances. And things happen in your life. And sometimes something happens in such a way that you are inspired. Sometimes something happens in such a way that you are drawn to change what your previous plans were. And so today was one of those days for me. And about halfway through the day, I had a pretty clear idea on where I wanted this episode to go. And then all of a sudden, something took a pivot on me. And I suddenly felt a need to talk about some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm excited to talk about a bunch of things tonight, possibly even introduce you guys that are listening to a new movie. It's not new, but new to maybe some of you. Possibly introduce you to a movie that I want you guys to go out and see if you haven't already seen it, and even a book that you may not be familiar with. But it's a very easy reading book, and it's one that I have read cover to cover a few times. You always know if you reread a book, right? If you go back and read another book again, more than once, you know it's a good book. And so we're going to get into that a little bit. And I'm going to be going back and forth with some of the people that are here in the live stream as needed with some of the comments that I'm sure will arise from this topic and from these topics and from the conversation that we can have from this. So we are talking about making it count. Now, today we did receive some sad news in the BV land. And I don't know that it's completely circulated around to everybody yet, but I've seen it in several chats already. So I definitely wanted to take a few seconds out to acknowledge the passing of a brother of ours from overseas. And it kind of, it's one of those, well, like anything, guys, it catches you way off guard. And so earlier today, I saw the message come through that our Bearded Villains Northern Squad in Italy lost a brother, Antonio. And from what I've gathered in the related information that came out regarding this was that somehow Antonio had some kind of a heart issue while he was, I think, working. But a very unexpected turn of events for the day, for his family, his loved ones, and such a shame. Anytime we lose somebody, obviously. But, this is one of those situations. And this news today of his passing kind of pushed me. It nudged me forward to want to take a second and take an episode to talk about making it count. Because you just never know. So I want to take a second to pay respects to Antonio. Thank you, guys. Now, anytime we see something like this, it puts life in perspective for us all. And as I started to look around and check into, because obviously being in Italy, I didn't know Antonio here in the States, but we know a lot of our brothers all over the globe. We chat with them occasionally. And there was something that as I was preparing for this episode, there was something that I saw in one of Antonio's previous posts that, I mean to tell you guys, it hit me like a lead balloon and took my breath away, honestly. It really did. He had a post, and I want to share this with you guys because I was, like I said, this thing, when I saw this post of his, he posted this post, I believe it was just a couple of days ago. And I want to share this with you. See how many days ago this was. Not sure here. It was just a few days ago, though. And it's the same image that I just showed you. But he has a quote here within this post. And this is the part that hit me. He quoted somebody saying, "In the end, what matters is not the years of your life, but the life you put into those years." And that quote he attributed to Abraham Lincoln. Now, I've heard that quote be attributed to a variety of people over the years, but that struck me. And seeing that is what made me pivot and made me want to take a second and focus on this episode. That just a few days ago, he's making a post on Instagram saying, in the end, what matters is not the years of your life, but the life you put into those years. That hit home. So again, our prayers, our thoughts go out to the BV Northern Squad in Italy, to Antonio, his family, his friends, his brothers. What a sad day for everybody around him. Okay, guys. Now, as I talked about, I this thing made me pivot, and seeing his passing and seeing that post, and I suddenly thought, there's some things that have hit home with me, some memories, some different things that come up, some topics of conversation that kind of roll into one that I've thought about. How in the world, how can I encapsulate all of that into one episode? How can I take these different topics and roll them into one cohesive episode of some sort? And as I started thinking about it, it just seemed to make sense. So when we talk about making it count, I'm reminded partly by this video that I put out earlier this year, a short little video, and after it was a clip taken from that mid-morning super awesome live stream Facebook show thing that I did. But I'm reminded about how life, obviously we hear the phrase life goes by fast. Ferris Bueller once said, life moves pretty fast if you don't stop. And he made his comment there. It goes by fast. But when you think about it, our lives are broken. Our lives are broken down into 3, 4, 5 different measurables. Really, we have our seconds, we have our minutes, we have the hours, we have our days, and they add up to this thing we have that's a life. And I think it's crazy it's a really crazy thought to sit back for just a second and realize, how often do you really think about those seconds? How often do you really think about the minutes in a day and think about making them count? And I don't mean the physical act of, every single second doing something tangible with it. I don't mean, not being able to just relax, because that is a thing. Being able to just sit there and just relax and let things go by and stare at a wall, whatever you need to do, that's taking time. That's making it count at that moment for you, whatever you need to do. But somebody once obviously pointed out that there's 86,400 seconds in a day. There's 86,400 seconds in a day. Now, by a sheer number, that sounds like a lot. And as you start to think back, maybe a minute is 60 seconds, and that seems like not very long. It seems like they could go by pretty quickly. But then you think for a second, what happens in those seconds if you're not making it count? What happens? So I'm going to sit quietly for just a few seconds, and it's going to be eerily quiet. The people listening on the podcast platforms will probably think they lost their signal or the recorded part of the podcast died. But just think about those seconds in a day for a second. That was 15 seconds. And probably 15 of the longest seconds you've ever paid attention to. 86,400 seconds in a day. And in that time, you can change your life. You can change other people's lives, make them better. But you need to make it count. It's a morbid thought to think about, but it's a realistic one that will help you live life more toward something that's worth living for, I think. And when you think about, you don't know when your clock is going to run out. On each day, you know you're going to have 86,400 seconds. But you don't know if that's going to be your last day. And so as we start talking about these things, I want to encourage everybody, not that morbid thought. Don't think about it as a morbid thought. Think about it as a positive thought. Think about it as, what can I do to make this day, to make these seconds, these minutes, these hours, what can I do to make these count? Because I don't know if I have tomorrow. 86,400 seconds. Now, if you extrapolate that out, obviously, then you get to your minutes. And the thing about the minutes, 1,440. Now, it seems like there's even fewer. There's 1,440 minutes. Think about all you can accomplish in 1,440 minutes. Now, that, again, may sound like not a whole lot. But think about something like this. Can you jump rope for 3 minutes? Anybody that's a boxer or a fighter will tell you 3 minutes in a ring seems like forever sometimes. 3 minutes of exertion of some sort of an exercise, solidly focused on that. 3 minutes goes by quickly. Think about all you can do in that time. Think about what you can do for yourself and what you can do for others. I'm going to play this short little clip that came from that Mid-Morning Super Awesome Livestream Facebook show earlier last year, when I talked about those 1,440 minutes in a day.
In every day, there are 1,440 minutes. That means you have 1,440 daily opportunities to make an impact, and to make a positive impact at that. Think about that for a second. All that time, from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed, we have so many opportunities in a day to make the smallest little difference in other people's lives. You have an opportunity every day to push aside people's first impressions of you and make them remember you, put a smile on their face, change lives. It's crazy to think about this for a second, but if you do, the smallest little thing that you do in a day can make somebody else's day better. And in turn, that person can turn around and make somebody else's day better. And that ripple effect can go on throughout that 1,440 minutes of a day. Something that you did at 8 o'clock in the morning on a given day, that can send out ripples that has such a long-lasting effect all the way till 8 o'clock that night, 12 hours later. It can have some effect 2 weeks later, because you did on a given day. That's what we want to think about. The far-reaching effects of that positive attitude of being a positive influence on people. Guys, it's immeasurable what you can do and what you can be for people if you trust in yourself and you recognize that the negativity doesn't help. The negativity doesn't even make yourself feel any better, really, because then you just wallow in your own self-pity. But knowing that maybe, just maybe, you said something, you did something to put a smile on somebody's face. Don't discount the small stuff. That little tiny stuff that you might do in a day, don't discount that. It can have long-lasting and far-reaching impact on other people.
So guys, Pay attention to our minutes. Pay attention to those 1,440 minutes. We've all known people who passed away and they had plans. So many plans. They had plans for what they were going to do the next day, the next week, into the next year. You know, Rob reminds us, life is the thing that happens while you're busy making other plans. Jay says the same thing. He often says that. Rob added to us here, once you accept that everything ends, you find a freedom to make the most of your time, to enjoy everything a little more. 100%, absolutely. And we're going to get into that in just a few minutes, but this whole topic here rolls me into something else, and it rolls me into a book I want to introduce you guys to. There was a book written a few years back, and it takes into account this whole theory of your seconds, your minutes, but it makes you count your days. And the author of this book did something really cool, because he said, I don't want to look at how many days I have left. He wanted to go backwards with it. And so he wrote a book called 20,000 Days and Counting. And the author, Robert Smith, said as he was trying to think about this book, he thought, I wonder for a second, how many days have I actually lived? And what have I been able to do with those days? And it inspired this book. And I'm telling you, you guys have heard me say before that there's a book. I've talked about a handful of books in the times of the podcast or the mid-morning super awesome live stream Facebook show that I had. And we talked about books that inspire us, books that'll wake us up. And this is definitely one of those books. He calls it a crash course to mastering your life right now. 20,000 Days and Counting. And so what I want you to think about is, how many days has it been for you? What day are you on right now? For me, I'm on day 17,272. That's how long I've been here. 17,272. And I don't know if I'm going to make 17,273. I hope I will. But we need to think back and recognize the time that we've already spent so that we can look positively forward toward the days that we have in the future if we're granted them. We need to be able to, oh my gosh, just really dive into those days. Just check them out. There's other milestones that I have. And when you think about your days, what day it was, celebrate. If you pay attention to those days, that you know how long you've been alive, when you hit another milestone in your life, celebrate those days. Too often we're stuck in this whole thing about we need to celebrate these super huge moments as we have to look forward to a specific moment. And so, unfortunately, because we do that, we don't pay attention to the small things, those small victories. One of our brothers reminded us in a previous episode of the podcast, choose your hard. Choose your hard. Look for those small victories in a day and celebrate those. On day 16,212, what did I do? Celebrate those. That way you can look forward to that next day and celebrating that. You know, I'm reminded, most of you, those of you who know me, know that music is very important in my life. And I have that touchy-feely side of me. So I always get emotional at the thought of certain movies, certain music, pieces of music, different things that just really deep down touch your soul. There's movies that do it. There's speeches from different movies that do that, that just touch you in a different way, that make you think, that will take some of those minutes of a day and make you think about where you've been and how you can better, in a very positive light, stay on track for your future. I'm reminded of Dead Poets Society when that scene when Robin Williams takes the students into the hallway and he shows them all the pictures from the previous classes. And these black and white pictures, they stare into the faces of these photographs. People that have long since passed away, reminding them to look deeply into their eyes, because every single one of them were in the shoes of the boys that are staring them in their face right now. They had thoughts, they had hopes, they had dreams. But right now, they're gone. And it's how quickly that stuff can happen. And that's when he does the Carpe Diem speech, seize the day. So, milestones. Pay attention to your days. For me, as I said, I'm on day 17,272. Day 8,341 was a big one for me. On day 8,341, I got married. I had my first kid on day 9,468. I'd been around 10,032 days when I had my second child. My third, 11,287. And I was blessed with my fourth on day 14,980. It's important to think back to some of this stuff because I think it really will make you put a focus on every second and living every second, making it count, making every day count. You know, you look back and think 17,272 days, that's a long time. But think back to the way that your mind works. Think about those memories. For me, high school was almost 30 years ago. But it seems like it was just yesterday. Because your memory works that way. You know, the older you get, it's one of those things that the older you get, you realize that time speeds up, it feels like. Time moves faster the older you get. And those memories become more and more faded. I've been around for 17,272 days. I started my main job, the job I wanted to do, on day 8,446. Half my life. Day 8,446, and I retired from that job on day 15,861. Thinking back to realize when I started that job, I had only been around for 8,446 days, and it would be almost that exact amount within a few of the days when I'd finally retire from that job. I was 8,446 days old when I started that job, and when I retired, it was 7,415 days later. On day 16,139, I received my villain patch. Very proud day. What's your day? What day are you on? You know, there's a psychologist out there that once wrote, William James once wrote, I don't sing because I'm happy. I'm happy because I sing. It's extremely important, I think, for us to not wait around for inspiration. If you're waiting around for inspiration, you're going to be waiting an awful long time. You can be inspired by other things in life, but you can't wait to be inspired to make it count. You can't wait around to be inspired. You have to create your own inspiration in a day. I'm reminded by Skip, one of our bros down in Louisiana, who reminded us several episodes back to be inspired by people's actions, not by people. And so you got to make your own inspiration. You can't wait around for it. If you think about it and you focus on today as thinking it could be your last, it will change the entire way that you think about things. It will change the way you interact with other people and how you treat others. You'll become more patient, more grateful. And those things that once seemed like huge things, like huge deals in your life, you'll realize very quickly, suddenly they're not. You'll focus on what matters in life, not the little things. That's one of the things I want us to take away from this episode, is to focus on the important things in life. Those are the things that you need to hold on to. Those are the things that are going to carry you through. Those are the things that are going to help you make it count. Those are the things that are going to help you leave your footprint. So what are you doing to make it count? I'm asking. You don't need to answer me, but I'm just asking because I want you to think about it. What are you doing with your seconds and your minutes? What day are you on? What are you doing with that day? You know, there's a movie that that I often think back to. And it's funny how different things kind of snap into your life and snap out, and then you don't think about them for a while until something happens, and then you suddenly think about it again. And everybody has pieces of music, everybody has movies, everybody has pieces of art, whatever it is that you'll always flow back to, your mind will always think back to in one way, shape, or form, because they've touched you in some way. And there's a movie that the first time I saw it, I just happened to be laying around on a couch. I may have been not feeling well that day, I don't know. But it's not a movie that I would have sought out to watch. It was one of those, it came on after something else I was watching. Had a decent cast, so I was like, okay, I'll stick around for a little bit. The problem with it is that it was a Tim Burton movie, and myself, I'm not much of a Tim Burton fan. I've never really been a big fan of some of his work. But this one got me. And it's so different than so many of his other pieces. So I'm sitting around and I start watching a movie called Big Fish. Now, the title of this movie is, it's one of those things that's like, what? Big Fish? What's that? And it's one of those titles that you don't get right away. You have to watch the movie to be able to get it. But this movie touched on some themes, touched on some topics that left a footprint deep in me that I look back on now often, and I listen to the quotes. I listen to some of the things that they said in that thing. And that movie right there, it was described as a movie where a frustrated son tries to determine the fact from fiction in his dying father's life. Now, that alone sounds a little bit, sad and dreary, and I don't really want to watch that. But it's made in such a way that you will be just completely floored the way that this movie is presented. If you've never seen it before, and it may not be for everybody, there's truth in that. I do know a few people that have seen it and just didn't like it. They didn't get it. They didn't see it for what I see it for. I guess that's the great thing about people's opinions. But this movie is one of those movies that teaches us about life. It teaches us about relationships. It teaches us about how beautiful life can be. And it teaches us about how fragile life can be. And it's one of those movies that when I think back to it, it really kind of goes hand in hand with the messages that are in that book about 20,000 days. And it's done in almost like a fairy tale capacity. But there are so many life lessons that come out of this book, or I'm sorry, so many life lesson type messages that come out of this movie that are things that you can carry with you. There's a line in the movie where one of the characters says, they say that when you meet the love of your life, time stops, and that's true. What they don't tell you is that when it starts up again, it moves extra fast to catch up. That's not a message that I really got a lot out of when I watched it the first time. Much younger at the time. But then I look back on that message from that movie, and I get a whole different vibe from that message now, at the age I am now, with the life experiences I've had. It's said in the movie, a man tells his stories so many times that he becomes the stories. They live on after him in a way that makes him immortal. We're only here for a short time. And you never know when those days are going to run out. You never know how many days you have. You know, it's there's so many things about that movie that I loved. In talking about life and death, there's a line in it. One of the characters says, I was thinking about death and all, about seeing how you're going to die. I mean, on one hand, if dying was all you thought about, it would kind of screw you up. But it could help you, kind of, couldn't it? Because you'd know that everything else you can survive. You got to watch this movie, guys. I don't come on and give personal recommendations to different things too often, but when we start talking about how fragile life is and how much we really need to cherish it for what it is for every single day, cherish those seconds, those minutes, those hours, those days, cherish them for what they are. It's one of the things I love most about that movie. It is a little bit slow in times, but much like that earlier quote, it slows down and it'll speed right back up to catch up with itself. So my homework to you is to check out that movie. Check out the movie. It's called Big Fish. I'd be interested to hear back from some of you about what you've gotten from it. And if you got as much out of it as I did. Because I think it's kind of exciting. If you are looking for an all-natural beard oil that will not only tame your beard and coarse hairs, but make your beard soft and smell amazing, check out Pulpo Beard Oils. Veteran-owned and made for today's beards, Pulpo beard products combine the best beard ingredients on the market with incredible customer service to ensure your happiness. Whether you need beard wash, beard oil, beard balm, or some fun clothing, Pulpo is the place to go. Feel fresh, feel savage, feel confident with Pulpo Beard Oils. Go to Pulpo Beard Oils, that's Pulpo beardoils.com, and use the code The Heart of a Villain for a discount on your order. See, now this episode was a little bit different in that it's shorter. 15 to 20 minutes shorter so far than previous episodes have been of recent. And I'm okay with that. I don't want to stretch out a podcast episode just to hear myself talk. I get enough of that, listening to the voices in my head. But this episode today was something that I just felt a need that I wanted to talk about. If for no other reason, then sometimes you just need to talk. Sometimes you just need to get a message out. And this was one of those days where it just felt like I needed to. Jay reminds us, it's funny. Life is so fragile and delicate, but should still be grabbed firmly with both hands and squeezed for all it's worth. Totally agree with that, bro. Totally agree with that. You know, it's just one of those things. And I have conversations with brothers at different times of the week for a variety of different reasons. Different things about podcasts, things specific to BV, things specific to what I've come across in my prior professional life. People ask me for advice on things. But one thing I think is really important for us to realize and pay attention to is that when the moments come, when something happens that you had no idea was going to happen, we need to recognize it for what it is. So much of our life is reacting a lot of times in such a negative way because we didn't plan on something to happen. And that seems to be the natural reaction. Even if something's good and it's a good surprise, there's that instant, well, I didn't expect that. Don't expect things. And just live life. Enjoy it when it comes in front. When it jumps in your lap, take it and go. You only get one shot at this. I'm on day 17,272. And today I decided to make a podcast episode about making it count. That's what I'll remember about day 272, 17,272, when I look back on that. Time flies by, and we just need to appreciate it for what it is. Every single one of us has something that we can contribute. No matter what you think, is good, bad, or indifferent about yourself, you have something you can contribute to this life. And it's extremely important for us to recognize that and stop thinking about what we can't do, what we aren't able to do, and think about the lives that you're touching, things that you're doing to make other lives better, other people's lives better. Just put a smile on their face in the minutes that you have in a day. Focus on that stuff. I don't know if this message is getting across to many people at all, and that's fine. But on day 17,272, this is what I wanted to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to do with day 17,273. And that's exciting. As I started thinking about this, I think back, do I really want to make all sorts of crazy plans? Or just enjoy and let life happen as it comes? And there's a certain part to that that really excites me. Rob reminds us, secret of making more out of your day, stop using the word should. I like that. So guys, just keep in mind, you only have 1,440 minutes in a day. You have 86,400 minutes or seconds in a day. But what day are you on? What day are you on? All right, guys. I want to talk for a minute about some of our events that we have coming up. And it's coming up quick. Tomorrow, February 27th, is the Polar Plunge for Bearded Villains Southern Indiana. If you can help contribute, or if you want to jump in, take part in that, hit up the Bearded Villains Southern Indiana for further information. It's tomorrow. Bearded Villains Southern Indiana Polar Plunge. May 21st and 22nd is DSV5. Dirty South. DSV5. It's going to be hosted by our brothers in South Mississippi, and it's going to be in Ocean Springs, May 21st, 22nd. There's a chat out there. Reach out, find somebody to let you into it if you're not already in there, or hit up the brothers of South Mississippi to hook you up with the details. It's May 21st, 22nd in Ocean Springs. Then June 11th and 12th is the West Coast meet in Denver, Colorado. I'm still waiting to hear how Denver's on the West Coast, but hey, it's a time, it's a party, and it's going to have some fun. West Coast meet, June 11th and 12th in Denver, Colorado. June 12th also is Knox Villains, hosted by our Smoky Mountain brothers, Smoky Mountain Bearded Villains. The weekend of June 12th is Knox Villains in Knoxville, Tennessee. Hit up our brothers of the Smoky Mountain chapter for further information on said event. It's going to be another big one. September 2nd through the 6th, if you're overseas near Finland, Sweden, Spain, somewhere over there, it's in Barcelona is where they're taking off from. Our Bearded Villain brothers in Finland and Sweden are hosting the Bearded Villain Cruise 5. That's September 2nd through the 6th. So hit up the brothers in Finland and Sweden for further information on that. And September 24th to the 26th, East Coast Meet. The East Coast Meet hosted by our brothers in West Virginia. The Bearded Villains West Virginia chapter hosts the East Coast Meet in Parkersburg, West Virginia, September 24th to the 26th. And then finally, September 10th through the 12th. September 10th to the 12th. I finally got those dates nailed down. September 10th to the 12th is the Four Corners Meet hosted by our brothers in Phoenix, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. That's where the Four Corners meets. It's in Cortez, Colorado. It's a camping adventure for just brothers. No families, significant others, other stuff like that. It's just bro time. September 10th through the 12th, the Four Corners Meet. Again, hosted by Phoenix, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. That's all the calendar events I've got right now, guys. If you do have something I did not include, please let me know, and I will get it on. If I don't see it, don't hear about it, I can't be held accountable for not trying to share the news, for sure. And lastly, guys, I just want to remind you that you can get those shirts, patches, pins, and all that fun stuff at theheartofavillain.simplecast.com. I got some new shirt designs coming out here before too long. I don't know that anybody but me is going to be interested in them, and that's okay. I'm going to be having some fun. I'm going to be wearing some BP gear with the old BP mug, silhouette, lettering, the phrase, "Be the villain the world needs you to be" on the back. That should be coming in any day now for me to start modeling it, so I'm excited about that. And if anybody else wants to jump on board and get some of those, by all means, you can grab some of those. And we'll just see what we see in regards to that. Now, I know, guys, this has been an odd episode, but like I said, I wanted to focus on this. I felt the need to pivot. 17,272 for me. That's what day I'm on. What day is it for you? What day is it for you? That's where I'm going to leave it right now, guys. That's going to wrap up episode 72 of The Heart of a Villain. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody that's been here live, I greatly appreciate you guys being live here on the YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for listening on a normal podcast platform. I can't say it enough. Remember, guys, you can still buy those shirts, patches, pins at theheartofavillain.simplecast.com. You can also get, there's poker chips and other stuff. But anyway, I want to challenge all of you guys, please remember, be the villain that the world needs you to be, because the heart of a villain never stops beating. Finally, guys, as I always remind you, remember, it's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. So for now, guys, have a great night. Enjoy the week ahead. Take care and stay safe.
Work at his leisure. Fresh to death is obvious. We get live with the script, high off loops and kick spit rhymes with the b-boy Twitch, grabbing my junk and shit like it's 86. Shelly told 3 stripes we on. Hey, you know the B.I. It's BV worldwide fantasy. Stateside across ponds, no borders. I am my brother's keeper. Keep your facial features covered. Stay villain.
One brotherhood, one ship. Stay bearded, stay villain.